There it is, the Grasshopper. I've got one of this cylinder cocks set up with a little spring detent to hold the cylinder cock in place. So we'll see how this works. Now, and there it goes. And we can regulate the speed with the throttle. For some reason it doesn't shut off anymore, but it does run. Now I've got to do the other side. Take a close-up photo of this and you'll see it. One other thing I forgot to mention throughout this whole rebuild job was these are the original cylinders that came with the engine. When I bought this engine from Wayne, he gave me 2 cylinders with the valve gear, and I replaced those right away, mainly because this one bolt here was completely stripped out. There was absolutely no way you could screw it into the hole and keep it in place. It just wiggled all over the place. So one of the things I did was I added in a little piece of brass rod in there, drilled and tapped for that one guide pin, and now that is also threaded in. The other reason why I used the old cylinders, I wasn't sure this was really going to work, and before I did a whole bunch of work on the original cylinders, if it totally failed, I could still return it to the newer cylinders, and maybe somebody else after I'm long gone could make it run better than it is. Anyway, but there it is running again. Really happy that it runs on air. Now if it just runs on steam that good, I'll be a happy man. Hi all. I finished the cylinder cocks on the Grasshopper, and I did have a problem with them. They would just pop out as soon as air was running it. So what I have done was made little tiny detents in the circumference of the cylinder cock. There'll be some close-up photos. Hopefully it'll make sense, but the idea is that keep the cylinder cock in position so that it doesn't leak steam, but then pull it out when I want to clear the cylinders of water. So hopefully this will work on steam. It may be another day before we actually see this thing come to fruition, but that's it so far for today. More for the rest of this tomorrow. Hi all, hopefully I'm in the picture here, and if not, I'll reshoot this. But this is the collet system I'm using for a 16th inch stainless steel rod to cut a extremely small round groove in the end of it. It's probably about 0.010 of an inch in, if even that. Anyway, I'm going to zoom in on that in just a minute. And that is the collet system. It uses a closure handle. I'll just activate it again. You can put the material in there, and now closes the collet. Locks it in really good. This is great if you're making the same part, 10, 20, 100 times, because once it's set up, it's very easy to use and it's fairly accurate. I have a whole set of collets for it. Don't usually use it because it's a big piece of equipment to always mount on here, but that's and there it is.
Okay, it's all back together. I'm not going to say what kind of an engine this is, because by now everybody should know that it is the Grasshopper. There's a little boy over there looking on. I don't know what he's looking at. Oh, and here's the man that's worked on it. What are all those extra parts for? Did they go into there? Did I just forget some of the parts? Oh no. We'll have to see if it works now. Well, it does seem to be working now. We're going to open up one of the cylinder cocks. Let's turn the engine off for a minute. They're a little hard to open. Let's see. We can pull one out. Pull the other one out. Don't ask me how this is going to work in reality, because they don't come out real easy. I don't want to pull it out completely. Here it is, one of them open. And now we close that one. Maybe we'll just use one. But there it is running. Let's see, we can regulate the speed, which is nice with this. There it is running on air. The next big challenge is see if it runs on steam. But that may be another day. Got a whole bunch of other things to do today, believe it or not. We've even cut back on the pressure a little bit, because I don't know how much pressure this thing probably barely makes 15 psi. But even at 15 psi, it runs very nice. Maybe we've got it solved. The reason for the cylinder cocks is because the oil got into the cylinders and it sealed them up so well that I had a tremendous amount of hydraulic lock and it would not turn. Now with the cylinder cocks I can open them up, squirt the water out. It seems to be running very good even at 15 psi, which is something it hadn't done ever before. I always had it running between 20 and 25. Well, let's hope it runs on steam. Everybody keep their fingers crossed. Say a little prayer for the Grasshopper if you're so inclined. Or maybe bless it with some sort of something. Do something to make it runs. It would be nice if it ran that good on steam. We'll see. Another thing I did to this engine, which is sort of, it doesn't ruin the value of the engine too much, since I still have all the extra screws, but there are many screws that I used, cap head Allen screws, as a replacement for the slotted screwdriver type screws. Taking the thing apart and putting it together as many times as I have, it just became very obvious that I was not going to put those screws in again. So you'll see the top of the cylinders have 2 cap screws, the bottom has 2 cap screws. This tank is held in with cap screws, as well as the fuel tank. The other thing that worked really well, I was really very pleased. These axle boxes were originally clearance drilled, and then they had a brass plate that went behind it to hold it all together. And putting it together was almost an impossibility, because you had to put this little rod in, the 2 journals there, the brass plate, the wheels, the 2 journals on the other side, the little rod, and the brass plate all had to be in perfect alignment, held in place while you tried to start a flathead screw that was about, maybe less than 1/8 of an inch long. Okay, well, one of the things I did, and you saw that in the last photo, was I soldered the brass plate to both of these journals behind there, and I did the same thing on the other side, so I could put the wheels in the journals and then raise the journals with the wheels in position. And it was very easy to start those little tiny flathead screws. They're 2mm flathead screws in there. That worked really good. Oh, one other thing too, I did leave off the cylinder covers, and we'll just see how it works, and if it works really good, then I'll have to take the whole thing apart to put those covers in, because you've got to take the cylinder cover off to slide them on, and it's a real pain. And I wasn't sure how much water would come out through the cylinder cocks, and I didn't want them to be restricted while it was running, so I left them off, and eventually we will put those back on at some point. Anyway, I'll just pan over, and you can see the gauge. I mean, it's just running on about 6 or 7 psi, which is really nice. It's never run that good. I don't think this thing ever ran less than 15 or 20 psi. So we have it running really nice now. And as I said, let's hope it runs good on the steam up tomorrow. But that's all for today. Everyone have a good day.
Hi. Well, it's part 4 or 5. I've lost count on the Grasshopper to repair. It's out in the garage, and I did steam it this morning. Some additional problems have cropped up now, but at least there's no steam leaks from all the fittings. The lubricator definitely seems to be working. The cylinder cocks will work, but so everything seems to be working. The cylinder cocks work, the lubricator works, all the fittings are not leaking steam. It was a little hard getting going. We still have a draft problem, and part of that is because the cylinder cocks leak so bad. That's the next item to be changed. What turned out to be the correct size for the drill, ream, and stainless steel that I had, which was 1/16 inch in diameter, turns out that the stainless steel is just a tad under that size of 1/16 of an inch, and they leak. So I'm just buying some other stainless steel that's just a tad bit bigger. Very hard to find stuff in those small increments, because I only need to go up from the 1/16 inch is 0.0625 inches, but what I have actually measures 0.061, which is a little too small. I used the number 53 drill, which created a hole about 0.0629, which was way bigger than a number 53 drill should have been. So now I am buying some material that is 0.0675 inches in diameter. I'm not going to drill it out bigger, but I'm going to create a ream out of the stainless steel and hand ream the cylinders of the cylinder cock to try and get a much better fit with the stainless steel that I have. So that's the plan. All this will take place over at least the next week or two, because it's coming from Online Metals, and usually their shipping takes about a week to 2 weeks before I get the material. So now we'll have the video of the engine running.
There it is, lit. Let's bring it in a little closer. I think we're going to change the camera angle here. Here's another angle of it, lit. I got the cylinder cocks open and the valves are closed. Doesn't take too long for it to heat up.
Now we got steam coming out. Go. Oh. Sticking your hand in the fan. As you can see, there's way too much steam coming from the cylinder cock, so we haven't really accomplished much the last 3 days, other than make it go from a non-runner to now a runner, sort of. Doesn't have enough draw since the valves are leaking so bad. If we do that, you can regulate the speed, but of course, not going very fast at all. And you can see how much steam is leaking out through it.
It's been
Brought back to life a little bit by just turning the suction fan on again. If we just give it a little bit of heat every now and then, it seems to come up to speed. We just don't have enough oomph in the draft since we're leaking too much steam through those cylinder cocks now. I think we're going to kill it at that.